The cameras were rolling. The audience was laughing. A well-known TV host smirked as he tore into Andrew and Tristan Tate, calling them frauds, manipulators, and a danger to society. He had receipts, clips, headlines, and edited sound bites, all perfectly timed for maximum humiliation. The crowd cheered. Then, the response came. No one was laughing anymore, because when Andrew and Tristan Tate fired back, the world watched in shock. What they said, what they exposed, it changed everything. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you might not see things the same way ever again. The TV host had spent years building his reputation. He was sharp, quick-witted, and fearless when it came to calling people out. He thrived on controversy, and his audience loved him for it. Whenever a public figure made headlines for the wrong reasons, he was the first to rip them apart, live, on air, in front of millions. And this time, his targets were Andrew and Tristan Tate. The Tate brothers were no strangers to criticism. Some saw them as outspoken, confident, and brutally honest. Others viewed them as arrogant, dangerous, and deeply controversial. Their words sparked debates, their opinions divided the internet, and their lifestyle made them impossible to ignore. They weren't just talking about success, they were living it. Mansions, sports cars, private jets. Some called it motivation, others called it a scam. But one thing was certain, whenever they spoke, people listened. And when this host decided to mock them on live TV, he thought it would be an easy win. He thought wrong, because the moment the Tates responded, everything changed. It started like any other episode of the show. The host, with his smug grin and sharp tongue, opened with a story about the Tate brothers. "You've all heard of them," he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "The self-proclaimed kings of the internet. The ones who tell men to embrace the grind and women to know their place. You know, the real role models we've been waiting for." The audience chuckled. Some even applauded. It was clear they were eating it up. The host went on to dissect every public misstep the Tates had ever made, mocking their business ventures, ridiculing their persona, and pointing out every controversial statement they had ever made. He didn't just criticize them, he tore them down to their core. But then, just as the audience was about to clap in approval, the host made a fatal mistake. He pulled out a clip, one of the Tates talking about their rise to power, their beliefs on masculinity, and their opinions on success. He paused it right at the moment where Andrew Tate spoke about how the world doesn't owe you anything, and how weak men are the problem. The host twisted Andrew's words, played them out of context, and then laughed in disbelief. "Can you believe this?" he asked the audience, pointing at the screen. "This is what's influencing our youth now. A guy who thinks men should just take what's theirs, and that the world owes them." The crowd erupted in laughter. What the host didn't expect, what no one saw coming, was how Andrew and Tristan Tate would respond. The very next day, without warning, a video from Andrew Tate went viral. He was standing in front of a camera, face serious, eyes intense. The words he spoke weren't just a response, they were a challenge. "You think I'm a joke?" Andrew began. "Let's make this interesting." And then he dropped the bombshell. The video spread like wildfire. Within hours, millions had seen it. Andrew Tate stood tall, his expression unreadable. His voice was calm but sharp, every word cutting through the noise like a knife. "You take a few clips, twist my words, and think you've won," he said. "You think you've exposed me." He shook his head. "You haven't exposed anything, except yourself." Then came the twist. Andrew didn't just fire back with insults. He did something far more dangerous. He turned the spotlight around. He pulled up old clips of the host himself, times when he had said things that didn't age well, jokes that wouldn't fly today, hypocrisies buried in past interviews, moments when he had been on the wrong side of public opinion. The video flipped the entire narrative. The same audience that had laughed with the host was now watching in silence. Andrew continued, his voice unwavering. "I don't need to edit clips to make you look bad. I don't need to twist your words. All I have to do is show people exactly who you are." And then, as if he had planned it all along, Tristan Tate appeared on screen. He smirked. "Funny, isn't it?" Tristan said. How people with the biggest platforms think they can say anything, mock anyone, twist any story, until someone fights back. The message was clear. This wasn't just a response, this was a war, and it was far from over. Just when it seemed like the internet had chosen sides, when half of the world was defending the Tates, and the other half was backing the host, something happened that no one saw coming. A leaked recording surfaced. At first, no one knew if it was real. It started as a whisper in online forums, a rumor spreading through social media. But within hours, the audio clip had been shared millions of times, and what it revealed, it changed everything. The recording was from a private conversation, allegedly between the TV host and one of his producers. The host's voice was unmistakable, and what he said sent shockwaves across the internet. "We don't actually care about the truth. The truth doesn't sell." There was silence. Then the voice continued. "People want a villain, so we give them one." The implication was clear. The entire hit piece on the Tates, planned, scripted, manufactured for outrage and views. The internet exploded. Andrew Tate wasted no time. He took to social media, posting just one sentence, "Told you." Tristan followed up with something even colder. "They don't want the truth. They want control." Suddenly, the entire conversation had shifted. This was no longer about whether people liked or disliked the Tates. This was about how much of what we see is real, and how much is manipulation. And just like that, the TV host found himself in a position he had never been in before. He was no longer the one asking the questions. Now, he was the one being questioned. The pressure was unbearable. The TV host, once confident and untouchable, was now the one under attack. His social media was flooded. His name was trending, but not in the way he wanted. Every post, every comment, every headline was the same. Exposed. Viewers demanded answers. His critics called him a fraud. Even his own fans started questioning whether they had been played. And then, he snapped. He went live. No script, no teleprompter. Just him, staring into the camera, trying to regain control. "This is ridiculous," he started. "People are acting like I committed some kind of crime. It was just a segment, just entertainment." But the internet wasn't buying it. The comments rolled in fast. "So you admit you lied. You said it yourself. The truth doesn't sell. You're the real manipulator, not them." Then, just as it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Andrew Tate joined the live. Thousands watched in real time, as Tate's name popped up in the chat. And then, his camera turned on. There he was, calm, collected, unshaken. "Let's talk," Andrew said, leaning forward. "No edits, no producers, just you and me." The host hesitated. He had spent years tearing people apart from behind a desk. But now, he was face to face with the very man he mocked. "Here's your chance," Andrew continued. "Prove me wrong. Show the world you stand by what you said." Silence. Tens of thousands of people watched, waiting for the host to fire back, waiting for him to defend himself. But he didn't, because he couldn't. And in that moment, the world knew who had won. The live stream ended abruptly. The TV host had no comeback, no clever remarks, just a blank stare before the screen went dark. And that silence, it was louder than any response he could have given. Within minutes, the internet erupted. He ran. Tate destroyed him. This wasn't even a fight. The once powerful host, who had built his career on tearing people down, had been broken on his own stage. His credibility, gone. His audience, divided. Some defended him, but many walked away, realizing that maybe, just maybe, they had been lied to all along. And Andrew and Tristan Tate, they didn't gloat, they didn't celebrate, they just posted one final message: think for yourself. Because this was never about just them. This was about who controls the narrative. This was about who decides what's true. And now, the audience wasn't so sure anymore. If you like this, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, because when the truth comes out, you'll be the first to know.